let me create. We talked about the 4-point surfaces with 4 points. Planar surfaces are very simple. Just as long as they're, curves are they're in a plane, 1 or 2, like these two are both in a plane. You can select both or one, and then say planar surface, and it creates the surface between them or the surface within one. No? And then the other one is basically created 4 curves, and they're located in creating a perimeter. And then that option of surface from network of curves allows you to create a surface that matches the 4 curves. No? So you say, okay, it creates this thing. This is great for CNC projects. If you're gonna do like a panel in wood that is gonna decorate a wall, and you want that to have like a high relief type of quality, this type of tools are fantastic. We have also surface from, this is similar, just maybe the other one could also be with a center curve. Let me see if that works. Basically the idea of generating complex surfaces. I don't know if that's going to work. Maybe too much. Yeah, it adapted also to the center one. No? So networking can have more than 4, and normally the surface from edge curves, that could be this option where you have the 4 of them. No? Yeah. So we have planes. You can create planes obviously in many ways. So vertical planes, 4-point planes. Some of them are very useful for specific tasks. And when that task comes, that's when you know you need it. No? So you can create a picture plane. We're going to use it in a second for actually one of the projects. So basically you click on picture plane, you select any image, JPEG or whatever, and then you just introduce an image here, no? Into the project that you can trace and so on. We will use that in a second. Extrusions, or extrusions, if you have a curve or a polyline or a line or whatever it is, you can use the extrusion option to extrude this vertically, and you have always the option of solid yes or solid no. You can create extrusions with a curve, with a extrude point. So there are many ways of doing extrusions. Essentially is the same idea, is always in a direction. The direction could be more or less complex, but it doesn't change the fact that what we're doing is having one single curve that is planar, and we actually extrude, we extract the curve out of it vertically speaking. Sweeps, so that's actually one of the options that we're going to be talking about and that I'm asking you to do in assignment 1. So it could be, you could do one of the proposals using sweeps as well. Assignment 1 says lasagna, which is the loft. We talked about it before, and the sweeps, or sweeping. Sweeps is these 2 options, and you have sweep 1 and sweep 2 rails, okay? Basically, you need 2 set of curves or polylines. So if you have, for example, a curve, I type curve and I create a curve, and then I'm going to go to the front view and do a circle, for example. If I go to perspective, I have this circle there, and I can just basically select here and move to that point precisely. I use the near option and the snap to the end, and I have now what we could call a rail and the section. If we use the sweep 1 rail, we can select first the rail. It says select rail, and then it says select cross section, and then press enter. What this does is basically create a pipe or a tube, whatever you want to call it, that considers the section of it and the rail. Let me do it again. It could be with any two curves. So I'm going to go and do another curve here, just far away is not bad to do. Go to perspective, select this one, move, which is M shortcut, and then move the end to that point. I have now a rail in a section. If I do sweep one rail, first always select the rail, and then second, select the cross section, enter. Oops. And here you have a problem, it's intersection. No? But anyway, this is what it does. You can do the inverse. You can always do rail this one, and then this could be the section. Either way. Normally, for your project, you need a closed curve as section, so you can create afterwards solid. So you can do something like a curve. And then do another curve here, maybe, why not? And join these two. Move them to the end, so it's basically the same as we were doing before. I can even change the control points so they go up and down a bit more. And I don't know if that's going to give us a problem, but basically now sweep one rail, it's rail, section. Here at the end it goes a little funky, no? So what I'm going to do is get rid of those 2 points to keep it a bit cleaner. Okay, let me see, sweep one rail, rail, section, enter and enter. There you go. If we cap this guy, because they're planar curves at the end and the beginning, this could work as a nice piece to do another proposal. Notice that I'm doing everything very big and then I just scale down using the gumball. I did a zoom select, so I go directly to that view and I can orbitate around that view. Okay. Boolean difference. And then you can get some of these more funky things and so on. No? Okay, so sweeps. It could be any set of curves. For example, it could be that the rail is a circle, and then from the front view, you have another circle. Now that will do a torus, is not that much of interest, but you can do that if you wanted to. Sweep on rail, rail, and then section, it will do a torus. No? If I go back, you could do the inverse selection, say rail, section, and we'll do the torus in the opposite direction. No? It could be polylines. I don't know, let me see. Here, 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 and then, oops. And some of them are going to go up, and other ones are going to go down. Okay, I'm going to go to the front view, circle, or let's do a square or a rectangle, just to keep it different. And I'm going to move it to that very point. Zoom select to go exactly to that point, move it there. And then I can do my sweep one rail. Rail, section. And what it does is follows the line, no? That could be an interesting one. I'm going to cap it. And I'm going to use this, why not, as a little piece. You can use the same one 2 times. I just copy the here, mirror, and do that copy here, move it down, go to the top view, and put it somewhere else, and rotate it. So it could be a very funky project here. Scale it. And I could even do another copy, rotate 90 degrees, move it here, move it, rotate as well here. Okay. And I can copy it again, press Alt, rotate, move it up. So this could be a little monster of ours. Let's see if it works. I don't know if it's going to work. Difference, select the center and then the rest. Okay, that will be your multiply intersected crazy funky guy, which I think could be very interesting. And then a Boolean intersection will be just the inverse of that. Just the chunks of that piece, almost as if they were stuck in the interior, no? If you have these cases where you have small pieces, maybe you just want to get rid of those. You know. So that will be with a sweep. Sweep, it's great for many more conventional things like railings in a stair, things like that. Or if you were doing some kind of a if you're doing a type of a furniture, let's say you do more of a exterior or interior furniture, you have, for example, this rail, and then from the front view you can do a polyline, and you can start measuring. No, I'm not gonna do that, but I'm gonna imagine this is actually a bench. Okay, so that could be the profile section. And that could be the perimeter. So then you can do a sweep one, again, is the one option, and then say rail, bench section, and then cup. And this is a solid that could work as a nice seating area that is a bit related to a sectional quality all around. No? And these are great things that sometimes are very, very difficult to do in Ray. No? So sweep to rail is a bit more difficult, and I encourage that you try it as well. Is basically you have 2 rails. So you have, let's say, a curve here, and then another one here. And then you go to the front view, another curve, back to perspective, move, snap, snap, move, snap. So basically you have 2 rails, 1 and 2. And I'm gonna exaggerate it so you see what's going on. And then you can do sweep to rail and say select 1 rail, second rail, and then cross section, and then enter. Basically what it does is similar to other projects. It tries to keep the section, and it tries to go as if it was a train, the cut of the train, it tries to go along 2 rails at the same time. And that obviously creates a monster. No? But that's what 2 rails is. In this case, a bit more straightforward. You could copy this one and then, for example, transform a bit this, so you could have like the idea of the bands, the sweep to rail, so the first rail, second rail, and section. I don't think it worked there nicely at all. It's funny. Yeah, makes a mistake there. Anyhow. Oops. So you see this, if I do a rectangle vertical here, sweep to rail is rail 1, 2, and it tries to accommodate to both rails. It tries to kind of accommodate to the bottom rail and to the top rail at the same time. Anyways, a tough one. Let's see if it works with a bit more. Okay, let's see this thing. The curves, circle. Move, put it here, move, place it here. And then maybe works here. Sweep 2 rails, 1, 2, section. There you go. So it creates this like weird irregular thing that you can't get with extrusions. You can't get with any other. You can't get with Loft easily. You know? So you can do a cap of this guy and use this as an element of whatever, a canyon or like a little cave environment or something like that. So that's sweep 1 and 2. And those are actually present in the first assignment. So if you want to try to get some of those sweeps and work with those, that would be fantastic. There's the revolve. Revolve is relatively simple. You need basically a curve to revolve. So normally if you want to do like the glass or something like that, you will do a curve. I'm just going to do it without scale or anything. I'm going to do a line here. Okay, so I have this curve that is joined, and I need an axis as well, which is this one, and I want this to revolve around it. So then revolve, which is again this little guy, asks you to say curves to revolve that one, and then you say enter. Start of revolve axis, then you just draw 2 points to create an axis. And then if I go to a 3D, you will see what's trying to do. So then it says how many degrees you want it to revolve. If you say 360, it will do the entire thing, no? And there you have your little glass, right? So that is a close thing. So I don't know if you want to use a glass for your project, but why not? I've heard worst. And you can use that as a Boolean operation. You could do other things. Of course, it's an example of how revolves work. Let's say a counter in reception desk. You can do a polyline. And again, without much detail. Okay, so I have this. This is the section of your counter, for example. And then you're going to do a line vertical somewhere away. And you're going to do a revolve, for example. Curves to revolve, this one. This is the axis. clicking 2 times. And now I can do from here to here. And that creates the counter. And then you can say cup. Basically, it said, just give me not 360, but 180. I can do a rectangle, vertical option, V, and then come here and do another little detail, and then do another revolve, and say curves to revolve this one. Enter when done, goes this axis, and then you say from here to here, and cap this guy, and that could be a different material. So you have a nice counter there, something like that. No, and that's again revolve. I think we got it. There are other things. High field, what it does is takes like a black and white element, and then just you will see what it does. Height, let's say 5. The darker areas will go up, and the lighter areas will go down. Let's see if it works. This is like a terrain, and basically what it's doing is it's pushing down the darker. So this is the image here. Notice how this is like the same shape. The dark areas are being pushed down, etc. So you can do a high relief. This is also good for, again, CNC projects of a wood pattern or something. Let's see if I can make it more evident. This one maybe. Like 100. Well, that didn't work out. So it's a little tricky, but it's pushing up and down. If I go to the top view, you can see there, like the project, the section element is pushing up and down, depending on the value of darkness or blackness, I guess, or whiteness, or how you will call it. It pushes up or down. So that's how it works. So those are different ways of creating surfaces. And some of them are very useful. Many of these other things is rotate. We have seen already, obviously there are many ways to rotate, not just one. So you can have a box, and we can rotate with a gumball, but you can rotate with a command, and just from this point, I want to rotate in that direction 45 degrees. So if you want to rotate it specifically from one point, you might want to use the command rotate. But there's also the rotate 3D, which is fantastic. And the way it works, that you set the rotation axis, let's say this axis, and then you're drawing the rotation in a plane. So that goes in that plane. It's a bit more sophisticated way of rotating. You can do text objects, so you can type things like hello in a different font, for example, and you can create solid surfaces and curves if you want to do something funky. I believe you should be, you can change the type, say okay, and then you have the hello there in 3D, So you can use, those are solids. If you want to do something with this type of solids, you can move them into the model and start rotating them or whatever. Actually, I think it would be a great project, like we can call it the textual 3D model. You have arrays, which is like in AutoCAD, copying X and Y and Z. So if you have actually this guy array, you have the 3D. So you can say 10 times in one direction, 18 times in the other one, and let's say 5 times. And then you can say from this point So there we have a bunch of, replicated boxes. Could be interesting as well. If you want to do something with the array, you can align objects. You can basically, this is very interesting. I'll talk about it. You can split as the same way you split two lines with the trim option. You can do it with surfaces and planes. So if you have a box and then you have a plane, let's say here, command plane, I place it here somewhere. And you could use it as a trim option. So select one surface and then enter and then cut that away. So you can use that and you can cap it. If it has a planar opening, you will cap it nicely. There are a bunch of things that we'll be seeing more as we get there. There's different ways of working with different surfaces. So you can fillet surfaces, you can connect surfaces in different ways. Obviously, multiple ways of doing curves, arcs, and so on, rectangles, different types of curves. So some of these things we'll be seeing, but for now, I think, given the time, we're gonna call it a day. I do want to stop this for a second.